Let's talk about what's happening in Myanmar's Arakan state. Now, you might see headlines about a military conflict, but what's really going on is something much deeper. It's a clash between two totally different ideas of how to run a society.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Who's actually in charge in Arakan state? Is it the military regime trying to put on a show of legitimacy with elections? Or is it this revolutionary force that's literally building a new country from the ground up?
And you've got to understand, this isn't some small skirmish. This confrontation is defining the entire future of the region. We're talking about two completely different systems going head-to-head, and whichever one comes out on top will change everything.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's break down the two main players in this high-stakes game for control.
Alright, first up, you've got the junta. Now, that's the common term for the military regime that seized power in Myanmar. And their whole game plan, in Arakan and everywhere else, is to look legitimate. They're all about political maneuvering to make it seem like they're in control.
Then, on the other side of the ring, you have the ULA-AA. That's the United League of Arakan and its military wing, the Arakan Army. And here's the key thing to get. They're not just a resistance group. No, they're actually building a whole parallel state. We're talking their own courts, their own police, their own public services. So how exactly is the junta trying to pull this off? Well, let's dig into their strategy, which one of our sources perfectly describes as a puppet stage.
Yeah, that quote right there just nails it. It really shows you how people on the ground see the junta's political games. It's not seen as real democracy. It's just a performance, a show put on for the rest of the world to try and legitimize their power.
Their whole strategy, their whole playbook is built around one thing, the ballot box. The idea was, hey, let's hold some elections, get our military-backed parties in there, and boom, we have a parliament. But the goal was never about what the people wanted. It was all about slapping a democratic sticker on an authoritarian regime. And, well, how did that work out for them? The numbers tell the whole story. Out of 17 townships, the junta only managed to hold elections in 3. Just 3. The other 14, they were completely controlled by the ULA-AA. No elections happened there. I mean, that just screams how little real-world control the junta actually has.
And the fallout from this, it was huge. It totally changed how people see traditional politics there. Any politicians who actually participated in that election, they're now seen as people who basically sold out, ignoring everyone's suffering just to get ahead. They become, in the eyes of the public, just disposable tools for the regime.
So you have this massive vacuum of trust, right? People are completely disillusioned. And that's where the other system comes in. Let's talk about the Arakan Army's model, grassroots governance. And the ULA's AA strategy is the complete opposite of the junta's. It's not about putting on a show. It's about actually building something from the ground up. Step 1, take control of the territory. Step 2, immediately set up the stuff that makes a society work, courts, police. And then step 3 and 4, create an administration that actually delivers services to everyone, no discrimination. And doing this real work, has built this incredible bond of trust. You see it in that quote. People don't just see the Arakan Army as fighters. They see them as their sole source of hope, the only ones who can deliver a society that actually functions and is fair. Okay, so all of this is setting the stage for what a lot of people are calling a make or break year. All eyes are on 2026. That's when this clash of systems is really expected to hit its peak.
So let's just put it side by side. It's pretty stark. The junta's system, its legitimacy is supposed to come from the ballot box, what people call a puppet stage. Their strategy is all political games. Now the ULA-AA's system, its legitimacy comes from actual, on-the-ground control, what people call their sole source of hope. And their strategy? It's real, nuts and bolts, state building.
So this leaves the ULAs with this just immense challenge. Think about it. They have to fight a war on one front against a really brutal military, and at the exact same time, build a functional, inclusive state on the other. That is a monumental, almost impossible task.
And the stakes here aren't just local, not by a long shot. If the Arakan Army manages to capture key cities, places like Sitwe and Kakpu, that could trigger a massive geopolitical shift. Suddenly, neighboring countries, international powers, they might have no other choice but to start talking directly to the AA as the real authority there. They'd have to completely bypass the junta.
But, and this is a huge but, all of this progress comes with a terrible, terrible risk. Analysts are warning that the better the AA gets at providing stability, at providing things like healthcare and schools, the more vicious the junta is going to get. They're expected to ramp up destructive airstrikes, specifically targeting the very progress that's being made. It's a brutal logic. So where does this all leave us?
What does it mean for the future? This whole struggle, it's about so much more than just who controls what territory. It's about forging a completely new identity for Arakan.
What's happened is that this conflict has basically split the very idea of politics in two. On one hand, you have what's being called illusory politics. That's playing the junta's game, participating in their flawed system. And on the other, you have genuine politics, which is now seen as the real deal, seizing power through struggle and then building a state that actually works for the people.
In that quote from the young man from Kaokfu, it just sums up this new reality perfectly. Faith in the old way of doing politics, it's gone. The Arakan army has shown that there's another way, that real power can be won from the ground up, not handed down from some rigged election.
So, the trajectory seems pretty clear, right? 2026 is shaping up to be this landmark year. It's when the ULA's governance could become so solid, so undeniable, that it marks a historic step, a step toward a new Arakan, one that can govern itself and deal with the rest of the world on its own terms.
And all of this leaves us with one last, really powerful question to think about. What we're watching is a real-world experiment. When a state is built by struggle, not by a vote, what does the future actually hold? What does that really mean for its people, for its future, and for its place in the world?